We've got some.
Hey, I'm Luis.
And
I'm Luis. And you're listening to the Content is Profit podcast.
We spent the last 4 years learning the strategies and techniques from some of the top marketers in the world on how to create content that turns into profit. And today, we're bringing them to you so you can take action immediately and start creating real content momentum.
If you'd like to learn more about how to turn your content into profit, go to contentisprofit.com. Oh, yeah.
That's right, guys. We immediately coordinated a call in which we experienced the smoothest, most amazing way to get an interview for a podcast. We were absolutely impressed, or how it was written before, perplexed. Not only because of the incredible value provided, but because the relationship that started that day. He is on a mission to put content in autogrowth while delivering insane value to those desperate for a way to get to their dream destination.
He is currently helping companies optimize, scale, grow, and monetize through their offers. His clients have reached top 20 charts, thousands of downloads, but most importantly, he's Chinese.
What? Please welcome impact creator, diehard funnel hacker, the Mr. Suave of podcast interviews, and your podcast coach, Mr. Parker Woodward! Yes!
I think it's my entire life. But can we do that one more time? And we just kind of sit that real quick. Just one more.
Just one more time, again and again. What do you think, Parker? Because
Exactly.
we're
You know?
we were chatting a little bit off mic, and I was like, okay, no pressure. We haven't really read this intro. What do you think?
Oh, the intro, dude? Your intro is super sick and awesome. So it's a really interesting video. No, seriously. So intros are really interesting and really amazing because it's the first opportunity you have to really kind of get somebody in and get someone super pumped and excited to listen to the amazing value you're about to drop. So the number one most important thing that I found is like teaching people how to create amazing intros, just like you guys did, is energy. You guys just like full on, we're like, state change, let's get ready to do this. We're going to have an amazing talk today. Everybody's mind's going to be blown and nothing but greatness is going to happen. Super amazing, guys. Super awesome. I also love you put your message in there. Intro, 5-star review.
Awesome.
Let's go. Approval from the coach.
From
man.
the master coach.
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Parker, we are super honored that you were able to join us today. The way that we connected is one of the things that we continuously preach. But for the audience, obviously they just heard like a bunch of data from you. But coming from you, who is Parker Woodward? How this passion from podcasting and having a platform and creating this massive impact, how does that start?
So this whole journey actually of me helping people to start podcasts actually started with my dad. So my dad, for those that know, is Dave Woodward, one of the co-founders of ClickFunnels. Super amazing guy. Everybody loves him. And if you guys say I look like him, I'm just going to continue to just stroke my hair a little bit and be a little conceited. It's fine. It's okay. But no, so I had the opportunity of working on a podcast though when I was growing up. It was in high school. It was like, hey, you want to make the quick bucks, whatever the heck it was, help them with a show. And it got to the point where actually one of my brother's friends said, hey, do you want to help with my podcast as well? So I helped him with his podcast, helped launch it. Literally as he was asking me, hey, can you help me do all this? I was literally like on YouTube, like Google, just like, okay, how the heck do you do this? How do you do this? How do you do this? And literally learn the entire thing from scratch, and through failing a whole bunch actually, and through having one of the most terrible launches I've ever had with my own podcast, I have kind of found one of the best ways to kind of help people to have success with their own podcasts. And also the most important part is having an impact in everything. Because the number one reason that people stop producing podcasts, by the way, in case somebody didn't know the stats for it, literally 70% of podcasts don't make it past 90 days of publishing.
Wow.
That's like 70%. So last month, there was at least 100,000 podcasts added to the business section alone in 1 month. So that's in the business category. If you're listening to this, you're probably in the business kind of sector type thing, creating content, creating all this stuff. If you're creating for other business owners, you are already like, if your podcast lasts longer than 90 days, that's just saying maybe even you produce one episode a month for that 90-day period of time. You're already better than 70,000 other podcasts that are produced the exact same month.
Wow.
That's crazy.
That's an amazing stats, because we've obviously throughout the show, we've talked to different people. We talked to like what's the mindset behind content creation, and we'll probably dive into a little bit of that. But also, those stats are so important because that can give you a goal to aim with your show or your platform to where like, hey, you know, if I know that if I pass those 90 days, I'm going to be ahead of most people. And, you know, we were earlier talking about like gamifying your content creation. How can we turn it into a game? And one of those elements is having those goals that might be a little bit of a challenge to get. But once you get it, it hits you with that dopamine, with like that excitement, and then it motivates you to go a step further. So thank you so much for bringing that data point there, because I had no idea that was a thing.
Yeah, I found that actually very, very interesting. And like he was talking, right, like gamifying the experience and making it to like, okay, what is level 2? What am I aiming for? And then obviously taking the steps required to do that. But if I'm being honest, what I love more about that story is that you said that you had a terrible lunch. And with that is how you actually decided to move on and be like, this is how I'm going to make people help people, right? And I love that because of the fact that you failed, right? Like you clearly learned from your failure. And so many people are afraid of failing. So many people are afraid of taking that first step. And I'm guessing a lot of people don't make it past those 90 days because of that same fear, right? So like, what would you say? How was that journey for you between failing and transitioning to expert?
Man, that transition from failure to expert, it's still an ongoing process. I think is the worst thing about it all, is that it's never just like, see, I'm an expert, fantastic, that's awesome. I mean, when you look at people who are like top in the industry, top in the world, that everybody looks up to, Tony Robbins, Russell Brunson, Dean Graziosi, Pat Flynn, all those people, they still spend hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year trying to learn new things.
Yeah.
I think the biggest stage of becoming an expert is knowing that you don't know everything, but that you're on your way to learn enough to help somebody to change their life. That's the exact same reason that everybody here is that the three of us are really doing what we do, to change people's lives. The call of any entrepreneur is to take a problem onto themselves and help other people to get out of it. That's what creating content all is helping them spark a fire, helping them to know that it's possible, all those things. It's an amazing just brain chemistry type thing that we're allowing ourselves to help other people to be able to do. I myself am a huge psychology and neurology freak. I love all that jazz.
Yeah, no, I can tell you are extremely passionate. I absolutely love it. I mean, we thought we had high energy in the intro. Dude, you're making us like, oh, we got to step it up right now.
You're matching it and surpassing it. And that's so contagious and amazing. And Parker, thank you for bringing that. I think the quote that you said is like, knowing you don't know everything, but learning enough of somebody else. Maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but wow, what a powerful thing, because a lot of people, they embark in like creating this content or having their own platform or you know, just there's out. Some people have enough value to share with us, right? So how do you pass that, right? Or how do you help your clients, or how do you help the people that you talk to every single day to get past that imposter syndrome sometimes that we have once we start creating that content?
Yeah. I think the main thing to kind of get past that imposter syndrome is actually they're using something that I learned from Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos and I are really good friends. We go way back. Totally kidding. No, that's not.
Mike, I was like, whoa. Can you make the connection?
Be so sick. No, yeah. But however, I do have an amazing ability to connect with him because of YouTube. Because of that connection, as far as I can watch other people who've interviewed him and kind of develop from that relationship. People always say, as far as like, I just want to pick, all these main people's brains and everything on all this stuff. Like, dude, like they have most likely answered every single question you're ever going to. It's free on YouTube. Just look it up, and you'll be able to have that. And when you actually meet them, ask a more deep question. Then, what's the number one way to have success? So the big thing I learned from him though was this 5-year question he asked himself when he was debating to start Amazon. So Amazon in 2012, if I can remember correctly the dates for this, was about to get started. Jeff Bezos was sitting there as far as like, okay, I have the opportunity to start this thing. It's going to revolutionize the entire world, create thousands of jobs, and do all this amazing stuff. But do I need to do this? He was already in the stock market, already making millions of dollars every single year, was financially stable, was pretty satisfied with what he was doing. However, he looked into the future as far as like, okay, in 5 years, is this going to be something that I'm unable to financially come back from? He's like, no. So it's not. So if I start this and I make a huge mistake, I'm financially set. I'll be able to recover. Like, it's not a huge thing that's asking me right now. However, if I don't do this in 5 years, will I be filled with nothing but regret? And the answer to that was yes. She's like, okay, so that's a yes to both questions. That means I have to do this. The same thing goes for me. Every single time I'm about to debate if I should record something, debate if I should say something, debate if I should post or help somebody in my coaching facility or even around me, it just comes in that question as far as like, okay, is the energy I'm about to exhibit hurting me more, keeping it in or releasing it? What's the best way of doing this? And so that's the best way for anybody to really kind of get over imposter syndrome. If you've ever been to Tony Robbins' events, he always has a transformation day. Have you guys been to Tony's event?
Well, the only time we've seen Tony Robbins being Funnel Hacking Live, actually.
Oh, dude, he did so amazing there. Oh, that was so awesome.
Mind-blowing, honestly.
Okay.
Mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Oh, seriously, I have like pages of notes from just that guy's. Seriously, I have like a stack of the notes this big of all the conferences, podcasts, notes I've ever taken to any entrepreneurial venture thing, and his is like a decent chunk at least. And it was super awesome. So when I had the opportunity of going to one of these events, if you are able to go to one, I highly encourage you to do it because it will change your life.
Yeah.
It'll allow you to change other people's lives. So using this exact same thing that I learned, and that's basically taking people down the road of failure so that they never have to go there again.
Yeah.
I like
So
that.
he has this transformation. You go in and he walks you through as far as, okay, step right now into the state of like, you have made it. Every single thing that you've always wanted to create, every minute of passion you've ever wanted to feel, every minute of joy, elation, peace, prosperity, all those, feel those right now if you were able to take action on what it is you know that you were capable of doing. And everybody is just like this crying, just, oh, this is so amazing, stuff like that. Like, okay, now step back from that. Lie to yourself. Lie to yourself that you'll never be able to get there ever again. And it literally just, if you guys have ever heard, like read the Bible, where it's literally just like the weeping, wailing, and gnashing of teeth,
Yeah.
that's what it sounded like. Everybody was in an immense state of misery.
Wow.
Because they were all just thinking, as just like, what the heck? Like, no, like people were dropping F-bombs. People were literally like, this room is filled with thousands of people. And my eyes were literally, I was just like bawling. Like, It was not a good time in my life of all the mistakes I had made. First, I struggled with anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. So it was one of those moments where a couple of weeks prior to that, I almost made a huge mistake. Basically, we'll leave it at that. And because I'm at that place, it was like, okay, do you ever want to feel like that ever again? They're like, no, heck no, no one wants to feel like that. But I was like, okay, it helped me to be able to understand that the only way of me ever feeling like that again is to help other people to never feel like that as well. And that's what gets over that imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Is I owe it to other people.
That's awesome. I owe it to other people. Yeah. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Yeah. No, you're all good. I kind of went on a little bit of a rant there. Sorry. Yeah.
No. I absolutely love it.
This is why we bring you guys. We're like, okay, taking notes. And the reason we're silent is because in the background, we're like taking all these notes to make sure that we actually bring in and process this information because it's so valuable because we see it every single day with people that, you know, they're either starting their business or they already have an existing business and they want to start getting out there because they need to connect with their dream audience, right? And you mentioned something in your earlier post is like connect that audience with their like where they want to be, like their dream destination. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So the dream destination is one of the most important parts of any business and especially any content. Because if you don't have a business plan, you will never have a content plan and vice versa. So it's one of the biggest things I've ever ran into with people is it's like, okay, what are we going to talk about your podcast? Oh, I don't know. I'll kind of share a couple of things that I've learned. It's like, great. That's awesome. Like share what you've learned. That's actually one of the first steps of becoming an expert. When you guys are at Funnel Hacking Live, we heard Russell Brunson talk about that.
Yeah.
But one of the first steps is you get on fire. Like you're like pumped, you're ready to go. Like, this is so great. And then you have to share that fire or surround yourself with people who are going to give you that fire.
Yeah.
And that's one of the best ways you're going to kind of be able to go out and do stuff. So you want to make sure you get to the point though, where you're not just like spreading your message, but you're actually helping people to become the person they already think they are. So it's a huge thing. So again, I'm a huge psychology and neurology buff. So have you ever heard of Sigmund Freud?
Yeah.
He has a thing called Freudian theory. It's kind of gross, some of it, because he had this huge like misconception based on his own life and his weird own psychosis stuff. As far as like, okay, every single guy secretly wants to murder his dad and sleep with his mom.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to do that. It's completely normal, guys. And I'm like,
Totally.
I think you're just, I don't know. I think you're trying to justify something. I don't know. But so one of the things that he has what's known as the ego. The ego is the core sense of who every single person is.
Yeah.
So what you may have heard as far as rock bottom is when that sense of ego or that sense of identity is violated. And you think like, okay, shoot, I thought I was here, but I'm actually not. And that's where that rock bottom state comes, because you're like, shoot, okay, like I thought I was here. I'm actually here. This is painful. I'm never going to be here ever again.
Yeah.
When you violate that sense of identity, that's when you'll do anything and everything to get back to where you thought you originally were. Because you realize you're in that same pain. Now, so the best way of that dream destination is identifying what it is that they define as an identity. Everybody always says, as far as live life on your own terms. You guys have heard that everywhere, right?
Oh,
everybody,
for sure.
Everybody's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's awesome. And the best way to get the best dream destination is for it to be as immensely focused and like as defined as possible. So for me, for my customers, life on their own terms is basically being able to spend 30 minutes in front of a podcast and be able to reach thousands of people.
Yeah.
That's a great life on their own terms.
Yep.
Because from those thousands of people, they get leads, they get customers, they change people's lives.
Yeah.
So that's what it is they want. So that dream destination, though, I thought before was not getting that amazing amount of listeners and everything like that. I thought it was just having a podcast. That's where people start.
Yeah.
So when people come to me, they want a podcast, but where they want to go with a dream destination, as far as, okay, I want people to actually listen to me. So that's where people make that biggest misconception, is they don't just want a funnel, they don't just want content. What you guys are talking about, you're identifying where their dream destination is by helping them create content that allows them to make money, that allows them to make an impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The best way.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I like that the part of the gap, and making them realize that they don't just want the podcast and the funnel, but they want this other thing, right? Like this identity that they're looking up to. Because it also talks about kind of like lead with what they want, right? And I mean, sometimes you gotta get into people's world the way they want to hear those stories, right? And like you say, you present yourself as like, hey, I'm gonna help you out with your podcast, which is 100% true. But at the same time, you're like, now I know, once in my world, I know exactly what you need so I can take you to the next level.
So yeah, and then that stage of getting to that dream destination, exactly what you said, as far as that next level, is going to be the epitome of every single of our pieces of content in our business.
Yeah.
So it's what's known as the framework. So the framework for a business. If you Russell Brunson again at FHL, this FHL, I just had the biggest just like brain burst as far as just like, that's amazing, that's awesome, my business is like figured out, this is so great. Because frameworks became the big part of everything that he was talking about.
Yeah.
And so the framework that I was listening to the most was, okay, people started a podcast, they want a successful podcast. What gets in the way of that? And that became the foundation of not only my content, but also my business. I help people to first create content. First stage of any kind of podcast is actually getting words on the page, actually getting words into people's ears. The next step, though, to get into a dream destination is making sure that that podcast is on auto growth. The best way to grow your podcast is through guests.
Yep.
Yeah.
And creating all that content, how that scaled impact of the guests is not going to do anything for you unless you feel that return on investment.
Yep.
Now, it's in the form of money, but that money will always represent something, either to you or to your customer. And so basically it's making sure that like after creating all this content, spreading it through all these guests, you're also allowing people to invest in themselves through giving them the opportunities to invest and to be amazing. Podcasting is a great opportunity to do the whole find your voice thing. It's amazing. You get on there, you start talking, and you understand how to tell stories. You understand basically what it is that you represent, what you stand for. However, I think that you already know what you stand for. If you're creating a podcast, you already stand for, and you've found that you want to impact others through a non-traditional route.
Yeah.
You don't want just money, you want impact. So that's what you stand for. And I think it's an amazing thing to start a podcast, find your voice. But in my personal opinion, I've always told you, you've already found it. And what your responsibility then is to help people to live life on their own terms and it's your responsibility to find out what that is.
Yeah. I absolutely love all that. I think it's fantastic. And one of the questions, what you were talking about autogrowth, right? And it's not the first time we mentioned this. We actually mentioned it in our intro. But I'm very curious, and I want the audience to know, right? Like, what is for you? What is autogrowth? Autogrowth. What does that mean, and how does it look in this, right? Like, live life on your own terms that you're creating for your clients, and that your clients have the responsibility to create for their clients.
Yeah. So the best way to put your podcast on autogrowth is always to use other people's lists. That's the best way for it to grow by itself, simply because when you post something, it'll disappear. However, when you post something on other people's platforms that's going on their podcast, or as well as just having them post about you, that's going to exponentially increase the amount of people you're able to affect. Because when you like something, it shows up on your page. That means that someone else likes something, it's going to show up on their page and consecutively and stuff. As well as with a specific strategy actually I'll be sharing with everybody today is how to make sure once you acquire a guest, you're actually making sure that every single step of that guest is promoting your own growth.
Yeah.
So the best way, if I can run that through real quick, this is kind of the epitome of having that auto growth tactic. So if you guys have ever heard of Luis Ryan Diaz, he's actually a huge person in the podcasting space right now. I think to me he is, because I've been binge listening and reading a whole bunch of people's content.
Yeah.
So he said the best way to get 100,000 downloads in 100 days is to use guests.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so the best way to do this is the 3 steps of guests. Number 1 is going to be asking people to become a guest. That's very simple and everything like that. You ask them to create a guest, they become a guest. That's super awesome. The next part is posting about that specific event of, hey, I just got this guest. This is super awesome. I'm super excited about this. But you have to always make sure you phrase the post in a certain way, or else it comes off as bragging. Yeah. And that's in posting it in a way that identifies with the message and movement that it is you kind of created, that you stand for. Because you and that person, there's a reason you interviewed them, right? Like either they have a great list, and that's why you interviewed them, and it's great. But you can always say, as far as you probably both stand for something very similar. With the whole tribe podcasting stuff, what my company is called, what we really stand for, is helping people to create a message and a movement behind what it is that they go with. That way, when they reach out to people, every single person can identify with them.
Yeah.
Because you're always praising them. On that reach out that I talked about, you're always making sure as far as you're thanking, you're sharing, and you're asking. You're thanking them as far as, hey, thank you so much for, pushing our movement forward that you and I both share. That's instant. You instantly will have kind of a connection between the two of you. Then you'll be able to have that sharing aspect as far as, hey, I've already shared something for you. I've already shared your podcast. I've already shared all this stuff. Then you're going to ask them to become a guest on your show. Boom, you have that first step of the guest. That second part, though, with that message, is you're actually allowing other people to identify with the both of you. And you can end that post, or however you phrase it, regarding as far as making sure you always talk about these persons that we really share the same message, all about, whether it's impact, motivation, content is profit. And then then making sure at the end of it, say, who else is like this that I should interview as well next?
Yeah.
Always giving the opportunity for you to kind of grow. Why? Who doesn't want to be interviewed? Who doesn't stand for motivation? Who doesn't stand for content is profit type stuff? That's going to connect you to so many more people with that simple post. And in fact, you're already interviewing somebody else adds credibility.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a great strategy. Sorry, I interrupted you again. Sorry. I'm on a roll here. I'm so sorry.
Every single time. I apologize, Parker. He's normally not like that.
I'm blaming the internet. There's like a little glitch in there, so I thought it was my cue to step in, But man, I love this because like it reminds me actually of the law of reciprocity, right? Like, I mean, exactly. When you do something for another person, they're gonna feel like they need to do something for you as well, right? And I want to be a little cautious here because I think people can use that for not the best means, right?
Yeah.
But again, I think the fact that you're mentioning that, hey, someone that aligns with you, someone that aligns with your message is key right there, is super important because since they align so much with your message, you're going to be super intentional with who you're promoting, who you're bringing on, and that law of reciprocity. So I think that is great. I think if whoever's watching this, right, if you guys take something away
Or
from this
listening.
episode or listening, sorry, no discrimination here on what platform you use. I think these 3 steps are top. They are top tier. They need to execute on these ones because they are absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I love it. And Parker, thank you so.
The third one.
There's a third one.
Yeah. So the first one was asking them to be your guest.
Yeah.
The second one, sharing the fact that they are your guest to other people, allowing that. Third one is going to be asking them, the person who you just interviewed, this is post-interview now, hey, I just interviewed you. I'm so grateful for this. I'm going to connect you with somebody else who would probably like to interview you and would love it if you did the same for me.
Nice.
It's going to be it's one of the most important things that once you get a guest on your show, to never lose that connection with them.
Yep.
There's another podcaster person out there called Jamie Atkinson. He's a huge proponent of actually of pitching to your guests.
Yep.
And of course, I'm not the biggest fan of this because I think that, like, that relationship is kind of used worth more a little bit, but it's entirely up to the person who's kind of doing this, as well as maybe my perception is completely wrong, but if you're constantly pitching to people, probably isn't the best. But I love what he's preaching, though, as far as the relationship that you can create with people over a podcast through digging deep with them is going to be an amazing opportunity for them to actually kind of get closer to you. And for them to even maybe create more affiliate offers, maybe create an actual offer and be like, hey, actually, I can literally help you with that. And let me jump on a free call with you. Let me do all this stuff with you. And if you want to pay me afterwards, fantastic.
Yeah, no, I again love it. And for those watching or listening, gotta be careful now. We actually, our last episode, it was Cassie Brown. Well, one of our previous episodes, Cassie Brown, and she actually talks about relationship marketing. So I can see how this ties together with, bring your guest. And it's not a one time and that's done. It's like you got to focus on keep building those relationships because in the long run, like whether they help you, you help them. It's more than just business. I think it develops something that is more meaningful and goes beyond business.
Totally. 100%.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, let's go. Okay. So I know I was like trying to take these notes here, and Fonzie keeps like, okay, Fonzie, Luis, it's your turn. Okay. No, I absolutely. And the reason like I'm diving into these notes is because there's so much valuable information that you just shared with the audience that we thank you. Because a lot of people see the platform or their content or their macro content, as we call it, right, just as a promotion tool. It's like, hey, I'm going to create this and I'm going to put it out there. And it's so much more than that. We obviously frame content is profit. What does profit mean? Profit means more time, more relationships, more, business partners. There's so many aspects, and we call it collateral revenue. So
I think it's that life on your own terms, right? That
exactly.
You're using.
So we frame it that way, and we've seen it with our own show, the relationships that we've been building with the people that have been coming into the show, right? An example is you. I mean, you brought us into your show, and same thing, and now we're bringing you into our show, and it has been an amazing thing that now we're connected, right? And we're bonding, and now we know what you stand for, you know what we stand for, and if the opportunity shows up, then we can help each other. So I think this is very important for the audience. If you're listening and you're investing time to create a show or to create a platform or podcasting, well, first, obviously go to Parker. And second, just make sure that, you follow those steps to create that collateral revenue around your show and those relationships that comes with it. So I want to ask you one last question, Parker, because I want to be super respectful of your time, obviously. What is something that somebody that's starting with their platform and their show, and they're, is the first steps? And we talked a lot of tactics and strategies here, but it's like, what is the one specific action point that they could take on today that will take them to the next level?
How to take your podcast to the next level. That's really hard because there's a lot of ones I think are absolutely amazing. Turn your message into your message. Obviously a huge thing. Never stop sharing your journey. But I think the biggest thing that I can do to help people to scale any part of their podcast would honestly be this simple trick of having multiple outros. So what I mean by this actually is I just talked to you about the framework of my business. The framework of my business actually is help them to create more content, help them to turn their guests, their their podcast growth on autogrowth, basically, through
Yes.
guests. And the last part is always to actually monetize your podcast. So having the offers and making sure you're collecting leads and everything like that. I think it's super important to have your podcast scheduled in those separate frameworks. Just like Russell Brunson said. Russell Brunson said his entire business is 3 pieces, basically. Creating a funnel. You've heard of .com secrets. That's all about how to create a funnel. You've heard of traffic secrets, how to put copy on those funnels and how to make sure that you stand for something else.
Yeah.
Last one is making sure you drive traffic to those funnels. That's all his business is. That's all his guidance, anything with this podcast. If you pay him $500,000, he'll literally do that for your business with those simple 3 steps.
Yeah.
He wrote hundreds, I think it comes out to over 900 pages, simply about those 3 different topics. Why? Because each have subtopics and sub ways of kind of creating more stuff and everything for his podcast, for his community.
Yeah.
So why would you not then, if you're talking a podcast all about creating a better funnel, to not then shift them right to an outro that's all about how to create better funnels? Specifically, hey, go buy .com secrets. It's right and ready. It's ready to go. If you're talking all about like, hey, this is actually a traffic hack, why not go to trafficsecrets.com? It's a simple thing, but I think it's going to allow people to have so much more success with their podcast because so I listened to things from Paying Jim. It was all about, what's the #1 best sell tactic? And somebody asked him. He's like, honestly, it's the pre-frame. Because the sell does not begin at the pitch or the stack. The sell begins as soon as you step on stage.
Yeah.
Same thing goes with the podcast. Your entire podcast is breaking down that false belief that they're not able to A, B, or C.
Yep.
So you really broke that down. So I think an amazing way of being able to help them then and help that person to live life on their own terms, however they define it, if that's having better health, wealth, or relationships, and whatever sub-niche it is in there, to then go deeper into, hey, you struggle with this. I just talked about this all day.
Yeah.
Here it is right here. This is how you're going to be able to get out and have an amazing amount of success. One of the biggest things that I'm actually giving to your audience is the actual full outro training thing that we're actually giving to everybody as far as how to create an amazing outro. We want to make sure how to create an amazing intro. We want to make sure that the hardest part of podcasting, the technology side of it, we're actually going to solve it all for them. And all that stuff is basically in my podcasting partner, Evans Putman, and I actually literally got together. We sat down and we literally created this training in the course of an hour. And then on top of that, I recorded more trainings on the next steps after you launch the podcast.
That's
So
amazing.
that's all the stuff we're kind of giving to people. And I feel like that's going to help so many people so much more to be able to have so much more success.
Yeah.
It's helping people to stop suffering.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for that, Parker. And again, if you're thinking about how to create more impact and put your show in auto growth, please go ahead and connect with Parker, because this interview has been mind-blowing to us.
Yeah.
It has been amazing. Parker, where can we find you? What's the best way to communicate with you?
Yeah, so best way to probably be on Facebook, Parker Woodward. If you're on Voxer, I'm on Voxer because that's the greatest thing ever. I'm terrible at texting, so I use voice recorded messages. It's a walkie-talkie app is basically what it is. It's fantastic. But yeah, Facebook, email at parker@tribepodcasting.com. Probably the best way. And if you want actually everything I just talked about for free, actually the next 48 hours, we're opening it up for free. It's the podcast launch and scale framework from One Podcast Away. That's at www.onepodcastaway.com/launch.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Parker. Guys, go there right now.
Yes,
That's all I gotta say. Go there right
just
now.
Go. It has been amazing. So with that, guys, thank you so much for staying with us, and please go ahead and subscribe to Continuous Profit Podcast. Smash that subscribe button and follow us on social media at BizBrosCo.
That's right, guys. And if you find any value on what Parker had to say today, please share with everybody. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, we're still live on Facebook, Parker.
Parker, thank you so much, man. That was amazing. What so many value bombs right there.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do round 2 for sure.
Yes.
Whatever I can do to help the most.
Awesome. All right. So one more thing here before we take a quick selfie. So make sure you smile to the camera. Let me see if I can. This actually works. There we go. There we are. 1, 2, 3, and Done.
Awesome, man. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, Facebook, thank you so much, and we'll see you on Friday. Impressed.